What's going on, Canucks fans? Welcome back to Blackfish, the Prospect Show, Episode 9. My name is Tyson Cole. My co-host is Dave Hall, and we've got Jake Fraser hitting switches, making us look pretty in the back. Took last week off, but you guys had a wonderful sit-down interview with Brandon Astle. He was very informative on everything Abbotsford and everything going on there. He spoke about Ryan Johnson, potentially Manny Malhotra being the next head coach. So if you hadn't checked it out, go check it out. Last week's episode. Dave, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm currently looking out on my grass. It's been rainy for the last 2 days, so I just cut it last week. I'm gonna have to cut it today already. This is the time of year that it sucks because it goes up and down so quick. But yeah, I agree. Last week's interview was just awesome. Brandon was super insightful. So if you haven't checked it out, go do so because he kind of makes you want to run through a wall for these guys. So super excited. He kind of just reiterated pretty much everything I thought. So, or I guess reinforced everything that I thought. So it's just good to get a perspective from someone who's, day in, day out at the rinks. So yeah, great interview.
Yeah, Brandon's a great guy too. Sorry?
Good to have you back though.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, how was A-Chair?
Oh, and let me tell you, I'm in this B chair for a reason. So
right on. As you can see, I don't have a blank wall behind me. I'm up in Kelowna. Unfortunately, it's a little bad outside. The weather isn't too great, so won't have the beautiful backdrop like I did last time. But hopefully next week it clears up. I'm in Kelowna, as I just mentioned, for the Memorial Cup, and that has been fun. But before we dive into that and everything going on there, I just kind of wanted to give my thoughts a little bit of the Sedin's, Ryan Johnson hire, because I didn't get to talk about it really. We talked about it. We touched on that it might happen. We're thinking it is, but I didn't give my thoughts. And I was at the introductory press conference, and I don't know whether it's, the old fan in me that was like, oh, the Sedins are here. Like, I want to believe in everything they say. But it truly felt like they said all the right things. Even Ryan Johnson, when he was like, yeah, to give a timeline on this rebuild is totally unfair to the process. It just seems like they truly get it. They get what it means to wear the crest. They get what it means to actually put in the work to rebuild the team to actually make a contender. So I believe the organization's in great hands. I am a little surprised that because the Sedins, when they first joined, they were kind of upstairs, and then they were like, okay, maybe this isn't for us. We'll go to player development. And then they spent 4 years there. They didn't really move up, and now they're jumping into president of hockey ops roles. Like, that's a big promotion. But from what they said, as long as they have full autonomy, I think it'll be good. But we'll see. I mean, we've heard this. We've been down this road before. We've heard the song and dance that the new GM and the new presidents have full autonomy, and who knows if they actually do once they sniff a little bit of success. But I'm hoping for the best, of course. Two legends in the Canucks organization. Hopefully, they can steer everything back in the right direction. And when they talk about culture and everything, that I truly believe that they're going to change everything. And that was on the forefront. And Ryan Johnson said, like, hey, you're going to know real quick, like, what our expectations are. And if you don't meet them, then, they'll have to pay the consequences, I guess, or find a new home for them. And a lot of the talk has kind of been around EP40, and he's got to come to camp in shape. And if he doesn't, then I think the writing's on the wall there. And potentially we could be seeing it. Oh, Adam Foote got fired. How did I miss that? I think it was the right call. I mean, Adam Foote's a great guy. I spoke with him quite a bit throughout the year, and I mean, he's a good guy. Maybe he didn't always get his messaging across as he wanted to, but I think the downfall for him is he wasn't able to adapt really to the situation. He came into camp and he wanted to play this man on man, like neutral zone swarm type of structure, and once he realized that, like, once it was evident that the team wasn't able to play like that, they weren't excelling in that man-on-man system. He was kind of too stubborn to change it, like he just kept going with it. Oh, it's going to work out. It's going to work out. It's going to work out. And then it never did. And then that's obviously what led to all the goals against and the team defense being so poor. Um, and maybe if he had kind of committed to playing the young guys a little sooner and being like, hey, like we're embracing this rebuild. We're gonna play Atu Ratu. He's not gonna sit games. We're not gonna sit Max Sasson, it's like stuff like that, and try to truly lean into it a little bit more. Maybe that could have saved his job. But at the end of the day, when a new regime comes in, the writing's kind of on the wall. They want to find their own guy to lead them, especially through this rebuild, and especially if they're going to try and change the culture. I don't really know if he was necessarily the right guy to do so after such a bad year and the drama and everything last year. And Dave, maybe because I think it was unfortunate for you guys because you recorded the Astle interview talking about it, and then later that day they had let go of Adam Foote. So did you have any thoughts on that?
No, I think you summed it up well. Real tough environment to come in as a rookie coach and, kind of
Mm.
throw it into the wolves. But, again, that doesn't excuse his inability to, I mean, it's one thing to lose games and to be 32nd, but it's a whole other thing like fall 32nd in the, incredible fashion that they did. So, assuming it's Manny Malhotra, I think right now, all reports kind of, point towards that. Obviously, they'll probably announce it the minute we step off air here. But assuming it's Manny Malhotra, I mean, it just seems right. You've got the Sedins, you've got RJ, now you got Manny, the whole band's back together. Like these guys were through the thick of it at some of the best times in the Vancouver Canucks, entire franchise. And I really believe that they're going to be in good hands. And when you have they might be all rookies, but when you have rookies that set that kind of standard, I'm excited to see what can happen. So yeah, I think you nailed it. I don't think we have to go too much further into Adam Foote. I think he did obviously struggle, and I do think it's the right move. Just to get rid of, just start clean. You wiped everything else. Most of the coaching staff is gone. Just get him in, get someone new in.
Yep, I agree. And so far through the process, as we record on Tuesday morning, there hasn't been any other indication that they're doing a whole search for a new head coach. It kind of seems like it's Manny's job if he wants it. And according to reports, right now from Friedman and Rick Dollywall, they are negotiating with Malhotra right now. So it does seem like he is going to be the next head coach. And I think that's a good move because I covered him closely. You've covered him closely. Spoke with him during the Calder Cup run after every single game, and he just talked about the culture and everything. And
It's the
despite the
best.
downfall this year in Abbotsford, everything you heard of the Abbotsford locker room, even though they were one of the worst teams in the AHL this year, there was never a bad day at the rink. Like everybody would still come in a positive light. And I mean, if Ryan Johnson saw that firsthand and Vancouver is going to have the same struggles, I feel like Manny is just the perfect guy for the job. So I'm rooting for him. I hope he does get it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
obviously, the American League is a whole different beast. So, who knows if that changes once he's in the NHL. But, this is a guy who, injuries played their part, but, he's playing Sawyer Minio upwards of, close to 30 minutes a night at sometimes as a 3-month rookie. So, he knows that, it doesn't seem like he's shy to play the young kids. If they're playing, they're going to play. If they're playing to their strengths. And, like, I think that's good for a kid like Jonathan Lekkerimäki. I just don't know if we're going to see the whole bring him up, play him 9 minutes on the fourth line, send him back down. Like, I think, he's going to play to his strengths and let them grow. I mean, again, who knows? That's the American League. It's a little bit of a different beast. Like Karamaki is a top guy at the American League level. So maybe that all changes. But I do think the familiarity with all these players in and out, he knows what makes them tick, what makes them, not tick. And I just think it's going to be a good thing. And they are negotiating, and I think it's probably taking a long time because, this isn't just an easy slam dunk for Manny either. Like, this is a big decision for him. What he's coming into is not easy. And so, if he's got other offers around the league, which, there have been some rumors that there might be, like, you're basically signing up for failure right now. You're signing up for a team who's likely going to be at the bottom of the, like, so basically, he probably just wants a little bit more money because he probably wants a little bit of security of knowing like, hey, I don't want to just come in here and get fired after a year because we're 32nd, right? Like this has to make sure it works for me because hey, I'm just starting my coaching career and I need to make sure that, I'm getting it off on the right foot. So I imagine it's, there's a little bit more than just like, oh, the Canucks want me to jump up, boom, let's sign and do it. Like it's a little more calculated than that, I would assume. So they got a lot of time, and I expect they're going to take that time.
Yeah, with a rebuilding team, I don't think that's going to be an issue. Like I think Manny's going to come in and understand. There's going to be a lot of losing to start off, and I mean RJ and the Sedins are smart; they understand that as well. So I
But
don't
to what
think.
extent?
Yeah, but I don't know. Like
Losing sucks for a year, and everyone's all good for a year. But what happens if they're losing like year 2, year 3? Like it can happen quick. So things go
yeah,
stale.
but coming into this job, they're understanding that hey, we're gonna do a lot of losing. Adam Foote, when he came in, their plan was to make the playoffs, right? They were still pushing for the playoffs, and then that obviously fell way, way under expectations. And so when the expectations change and you're 32nd, you get hired to the 32nd place team, there's some expectations like, okay, we're going to be bad, but we can keep improving slowly but surely and then move up the standings like that. So I think Manny's job will hopefully be safe for a few years, but you make a good point that anything can change, with this owner,
That's kind
anything
of
can
where I'm
happen.
getting it.
Yeah. Anyway, long chat on that. Apologies, but I'll briefly touch on the Memorial Cup. It's been a great tournament so far. Kitchener is up 2-0 with Gabe Sherratt, or up 2-0. They're 2-0 in the standings. They won both their games. They beat Kelowna 5-0. And then they beat the Everett Silvertips, which was supposed to be like a preview for the final with the two favorites. And then Kitchener kind of just blew them out of the water. Um, they've so the first game, it was pretty close between them and Kelowna for a little bit. Um, it was 2-0 until like through 50 minutes of the game, and then Kitchener just scored 3 goals in less than 3 minutes in the third period to win 5-0. But the game was closer than the scoreline um, would suggest. And then last night against the Silvertips, it was kind of the same thing. They got out to a 2-0 lead, but I talked to Kitchener's head coach after, and he said, "Yeah, I didn't really like their first, even though they walked out of the first with a 2-1 lead. And then just like they did against Kelowna, they scored 3 goals in quick succession within less than 5 minutes again in the second period. And that's kind of what the dagger was. Gabe Sherratt started on the top line. He didn't get any points in the first game, but he talked to me about being like playing in those greasy areas and everything, retrieving pucks along the walls for his teammates. And he was doing just that in the first game. But then the second game, I think he took a penalty in the first period, a holding penalty, and then draft eligible Matthias Vananen, who we're going to talk about later. Um, he scored on the power play, and then Sherratt kind of moved down the lineup. He played on the third line for the second and third period, but that's where he got his goal, kind of right place, right time at the side of the net, and then picked up a nice assist on the sixth goal when the game was already out of reach. But he's had a good tournament so far. Talk to him; he's a good kid, and he kind of understands his role. What I kind of took away from conversation with him was what he told me that the Sedins told him going back to Kitchener this year after training camp is like, hey, like not everyone in the NHL is going to be able to put up points, but not everyone in the NHL can do what you do, like being that power forward, like you said, greasy areas and all that stuff, doing things that other people don't want to do, and he's willing to do that. And so he really took that with him. And just because the point totals aren't there doesn't mean he's not being valued to his team in other ways. And Dave, you've watched him for kind of the whole year. I believe that you would probably share the same sentiment that he is that type of physical power forward, and the points will come.
Yeah, there's a reason why I continue to just bring it slowly and just subtly bring up his name because, like he's not a flashy player that's going to, get those sexy, gaudy points that everyone wants to see. Like he's a player that you kind of have to watch the game to appreciate him. Like, no, he is like that. You have to watch the game because he's just doing the little things. Like I've always said that if he's going to make it, he's destined to be a third line, fourth line grinder. That's just what he is, but he's going to play that role, and NHL teams need that role. So, yeah, he's a heck of a player. He's fun to watch. I I'd be interested to see what happens after this tournament. You know, he is a player. Does he return for his overage next season? Obviously, he can't go to the NCAA. He's already signed to a Canucks contract. So is he a player that moves to Abbotsford next year? Like, I do wonder if that's the case, especially if they win a Memorial Cup. You've now won. Um, you know, go
Nothing
test.
left to prove at that level,
Exactly.
right? Like,
Go
let's
test. I
go.
mean, Abbotsford's going to have room.
Yep. Yep. I asked him about that, and he classic hockey answer. I'm just focused on the Memorial Cup right
Of
now.
course.
But he
Because
did share. He's like, yeah, it's in the back of my mind, and I was like,
okay,
okay,
he's
well,
going.
yeah, probably. But he's focused on the job at hand, and he's got a 2-0 lead. And as we record this, he plays against Chicoutimi tonight. And if the Rangers win, then they advance to the automatically advance to the final on Sunday. So that'll be a good watch. The other Canucks prospect, Parker Alcos. I didn't really like his game one against Kitchener. Obviously, you lose 5-0, but um, there was just some questionable pinches where you give Kitchener thrives on the counterattack. You have to realize that. And so, like, when you pinch up and then you get beat, you're not going to be able to catch up to him. And there were so many odd man rushes the other way because of Alcos's pinches. So I didn't really like that. But he did bounce back in game two. I thought he was a lot better. He had one bad play kind of at the end against Chicoutimi. They were trailing. Mazden Leslie, who's a defenseman, moved up to forward for the tournament because he's an offensive defenseman. They had Peyton Kettles come back, a Pittsburgh draft pick, after a lengthy injury, and so they had their blue line kind of figured out. They're like, all right, Leslie, we'll move you up to our top six, and so Alcos was getting like power play one time and everything. Anyway, so they scored. They scored with like 4 minutes left after just allowing a goal with 6 minutes left in the third period. So they tied it up at 2, and then with 2 minutes left, he jumps up to keep the puck in the zone, and then he drops the puck down, and there was a Chicoutimi player right on him, Berthelot, I believe his name is, and he kind of reverse hits him, which is great. But then the puck's under Berthelot, and then he cross checks him while he's down, hits him in the neck. And they originally called it a major penalty, reduced it down to a minor. Luckily, the Rockets killed it off, but then in overtime, they got dominated. Chicoutimi had had possession the whole time, and it was classic like NHL overtime where they take it out of the zone, wait for the perfect play. But Liam Lefay, which is kind of a crazy way to pronounce it. It ends with BVRE, but that's the French. I don't know. um, he scores, and so Kelowna loses. They got an uphill battle, so they got to beat Everett on Wednesday, which is today when you're hearing this. So we'll see about that. In terms of draft eligible prospects, I mentioned Matthias Vananen. He plays on the top line with Carter Bear, Detroit first round pick, and Julius Miettinen, a Kraken second round pick. And just so far through the 2 games that I've watched, it looks like Vananen's the one that is kind of driving play. He's the one with the puck on his stick and everything. He's the straw that stirs the drink on that line in this tournament. He finished with the game high 7 shots on goal last night against Kitchener. He's been really noticeable. I don't know. I believe he's kind of like that second round, third round, I think second round projection. So he could be a Canucks target. He's a little undersized. I believe he's 5'11", plays on the wing. So not exactly the perfect profile, but he's a good hockey player, and that's what the Canucks need right now. Another guy that I've been really, really impressed with, draft eligible. He's also on Everett, Breck Lisk. I didn't know too much about him before the tournament, but he's Landon Dupont's D partner, and just the way he's a right shot, but he plays on the left side because Dupont's a righty. But some of the defensive plays, he's so smart with how to use his body to protect the puck and then make the correct pass to clear the zone, outlet pass, and just his ability. Like he's good on his own. Like on the second power play, he's a one-man break-in. Um, but when Dupont's on the ice, he knows how to facilitate to the good player. He'll often hand off to him, and just his ability to play with an elite player, I thought was especially noticeable. I believe he's projected to kind of go mid third round, which the Canucks pick, I think, at 78. So, um, I mean, he could be an option for me. He's 6'2", right shot defenseman. I liked his game so far. Have you watched much of him, Dave?
I watched a little bit, especially in that final against Brain Coots and the Prince Albert Raiders. So yeah, I definitely liked his game. I agree that he could be a target, like 6'2" right shot D. You can never go wrong with that. So especially in
Mhm.
like the guts of the draft there. So
Yeah, yeah. Um, Other than that, Shakutami, I don't have too many takeaways. I don't. They have quite a few NHL drafted players. I don't think they have too many guys that are draft eligible. So haven't had as many takeaways from their team. But all in all, it's been a really really good tournament. We'll see how it all plays out. And there was some fight last night, and I just can't get over the camera angle. Jake, I believe we have the video here. Jackson Vaughn and Andrew McNeil just throwing haymakers.
going to town.
Yeah, I mean,
That's some
uh,
rock'em sock'em hockey right there.
that's what I. And then look at that, like the camera angle to get the glove right there. You guys have watched the World Juniors. You've seen the TSN cameraman with the all white suit on. He's here too, and he got that beautiful camera angle. And I just needed to shout it out because that was so cool and something that only TSN could do.
Some Brock
Um,
Lesnar smashes going on there too.
yeah, yeah, they were throwing haymakers. It's a good fight. We'll see if there's some more fights. Anyway, all right. Today's show, we're going to be doing a mock draft, and when we had our meeting this week and we talked about how we were going to do it, I got outvoted. They wanted to do it pre the live show, and I was like, "No, guys, like it's going to be so much more fun if we don't know who everyone's going with." And then I won. So we're doing it live for you right now. Um Mock draft. So we will be picking um the whole first round mock draft, not and reacting based off what the other guys are doing. And just to even it out, we're doing 11 picks each, so we'll do 33 because the Canucks also picked 33rd. And I believe that we did some randomization, and Jake will go first, Dave second, me third. Um, and I guess I lucked out because I get all three of the Canucks picks.
I was actually
Um,
looking at it, and it kind of it's interesting because you got all three Canucks picks. I believe I pick all of San Jose's picks, and I also
mm,
pick all of St. Louis. Like basically, if there's a second pick from that team, I'm pretty sure I pick those. So it's kind
oh,
of interesting how that works out.
yeah. Yeah, that's weird. So we'll see. I mean, should be an interesting draft, and this will be like what we think the team will do based on their team needs. We won't kind of cater to, okay, well, we have to go this player here because the player that goes next makes more sense for that
No, it's a
team or
real
whatever.
draft. This is
Yeah,
how it's
real
supposed to
draft,
be.
what we
We've got
would
our
do.
ranking. Everyone's got their rankings, but when you're doing
Yeah.
drafts, like this is how it plays out. Like it's never going to go as the rankings go. So
No, what we would do with these picks. So I believe we made a pretty handy sheet so you could be able to follow along with
look at that
us.
pretty team.
Um, yeah. Jake always makes us look pretty, hey?
That was you that
Got,
made that.
Whatever. I'm just
got the
trying to give you
schmoke.
credit, buddy. All right. I guess I'm making it look pretty. Anyway, Jake, you got the first pick. Toronto Maple Leafs. Who are they going?
I've been a little bit back and forth, but I think I'm just gonna stick with not I'm not gonna go recency bias here. I know he's dominating the world championships, Ivar Stenberg that is, but I'm gonna go with Gavin McKenna.
Good pick.
Yeah, that's fair. And it's funny because now I'm gonna be faced with this whole like, do I do recency picks? Like obviously Ivor Stenberg is just dominating
Yeah.
dominating the world championships here. So like it just feels like it could just end up being Ivor Stenberg, but I also just still can't shake the feeling that like everything that we've heard, everyone that I've talked to, it really just looks like they might lean defenseman. So I have to go Chase Reed here with the caveat that I'm not going to be shocked if it's not Chase Reed, but I feel like they have to go defenseman. I mean, in theory, I would be making the calls to be trading back at like almost immediately if I'm San Jose at this point. But I think if they're going to make the pick, I just think they go D and just, start to build up that back end.
Funny story. Gavin McKenna, I was obviously at the Memorial Cup for game 1. It was like bumper to bumper traffic at an intermission. I was trying to go downstairs to see some family. And, when you're bumper to bumper, you're trying to weave through everything. And I was standing next to this guy for probably 10 seconds, which felt like an eternity. And then we get to the stairs. I look over and it's Gavin McKenna. I was like, holy. I was like, I didn't know you were here, dude. I he was with some buddies. I didn't want to bother him, but if you're watching, Gav, come on the show. Anyway, Chase Reed it too. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. I do wonder if they do trade down, like you mentioned, Dave. But also, I started to think like they could just take Ivar Stenberg, and then they've got some other wingers there that they could use as trade bait, and then go get their defenseman, right? And yeah, it'll just depend on what defenseman. Like I know that the Ducks have quite a few young defensemen, RFA, so could package one of them for one of their young forwards like William Eklund or whatever. But I'm rambling anyway. I mean, if this dream scenario happens for the Canucks, I don't know how they don't go Ivar Stenberg. I know there's been talks that Caleb Malhotra is really shooting up the board and how much they like him, but my stance on that. Ivar Stenberg is one of the players that can truly impact the game, one of the elite players in this draft. So I'd be running up to the board to the podium to select Stenberg.
This kind of complicates the Chicago pick for me, just because I feel like they need an elite defenseman, but I am going to go with Caleb Malhotra here at 4, because I think that having that elite number 2 centerman to pair with Connor Bedard in your top 6, you move Nazar over to the wing, Anton Frundell over to the wing as well. I think that you've got a pretty loaded forward group, and I think that's something that the Blackhawks have struggled to build around Connor Bedard through his first 3 years in the NHL.
Yeah, their forward group can look pretty disgusting in a couple of years, especially with Caleb in there. So yeah, fine. Well, that makes my job super easy. I'm running up to the podium. I think the Rangers could use a little bit of everything here. So there's a few names that I'm thinking, but I think the easy choice for me is Carson Carrolls. They run up, take him left-hand shot. If he's a right-hand shot, he could go number 1. Like at least in terms of defensemen, definitely. I just think he's got the whole package. I'm personally not sure if the whole offensive package is as high as Chase Reed, but I think Carson Carolls is a bona fide NHL defenseman, top 2 guy that can do it all. So running up, we're selecting Carson Carolls.
Good picks. I don't like how you took Carolls from me, Dave. You know how I feel about him, so that was
He's going top 5, so you should have expected it.
Yeah, I know. He's nasty. He's one of my favorites. I'm gonna go Vigo Bjork for the Flames. I feel like they are looking for one of the stud forwards. I know that they want to move up, presumably 4, and Ivar Stenberg is what I would assume, especially if he falls. And so, I mean, Vigo Bjork I consider him to be the better center in this draft. And so if he's there, they don't really have a lot of center prospects in the system. And I mean, they've got some good defensive prospects, Bruce Stevich, Shane Parek. So I'll go Vigo Bjork.
Yeah, I like that pick. That's who I was kind of leaning for Seattle, though, because they've never taken a defenseman in the first round of the draft. But I'm going to say that streak ends here. They're going Keaton Verhoff.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's fine. They got me his right shot there. Potential to be a nice pick.
I think he's fallen a little too far.
Yep, in some boards he's definitely gone a little far. This is an interesting one as well, because I feel like Winnipeg, they do take a lot of exact opposite of what you said. I feel like the Winnipeg Jets do take a lot of defensemen. They have Sasha Boumedian. I just think it's time to take a forward with a little bit of upside. And so I think building off a guy like Ethan Belchez is the guy that I'm going to go for. If you can untap some of the, we've talked about him before, where if he can untap a little bit more power elements, I think there's real possibility for him to be a pretty special player. And, you got guys like, Kyle Connor, 29, Scheifele, 33. So that whole era is, winding down at some point, and so you're going to need to kind of restock those shelves. And I think Ethan Belchez at this point is a nice swing in the top 10. So I'm going Ethan Belchez, left wing from the Windsor Spitfires.
I like him. I like him a lot. I feel like he's another guy that's kind of slipping because he was hurt and hasn't played in a while. But I really liked his game. If he would be a little bit more of a power forward, that would be nice. But with his 6'5" frame, but maybe they could teach him that
He's got hands for
in
days.
Winnipeg. Florida Panthers. I mean, I kind of feel like they should trade this pick for something that's going to help them now because they're obviously still in their cup window. But I mean, there's a player who's almost NHL ready that just fell to them, and that's Albert Smith. So I would be taking him. If you look at the right side of their defense, they've got Aaron Ekblad, they've got Seth Jones. I believe Mikkola is playing in their top four, and he's a good defenseman. Don't get me wrong, but if you can bring in an Albert Smith to play behind Gustav Forsling, and I mean Smiths, we've seen him play at the Olympics against men. We've seen him play in this Finnish league this season against men. I feel like he's close to NHL ready. He's playing at the World Championships, I believe, right now, Dave.
Yeah, for Latvia.
So I think he can step in pretty quickly, and so I feel like that could be the win now draft pick if he does fall there. So I'll go Smiths.
Panther.
Sorry?
He just feels like a Florida Panther.
Right?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I can see it.
So here at 10, I feel like I feel like there's a little bit of a drop off after these top 9 guys go. But I think last year, after taking Brady Martin, they liked the competitive centerman. I'm going to go with another one. I'm going Tynan Lawrence here for the Nashville Predators.
Yeah. Yep.
I just think the two-way ability, the competitiveness, I think it pairs well with a Brady Martin for what they're trying to build in their middle six in the future.
Yeah, I agree. It takes a little bit of the pressure off of him as well. Like, I think it's nice to have those two. It's almost like a, Caleb Mahocha, Braden Coots-esque, kind of situation there. So, yeah, I think that's a great pick as well. And I agree. I think there is a big drop off. So this is where things get kind of interesting, especially since we're going off on the fly here and kind of on the whim.
It's way more fun.
No, it's fine. It's gonna get a little greasy here, but I think 11. I think the St. Louis Blues can go in a few different spots. But with that being said, I do think they have some exciting forwards coming up that are about to make their mark and kind of start that new chapter in St. Louis. So I think they're gonna go defense here, and I've been a little. Not tough on him, but I don't know if I see him as a top 10. But I'm going Daxon Rudolph. I think at the end of the day, you got a 6'2" right shot, 200+ pound defenseman with an obvious offensive edge. I mean, he co-led the entire WHL in the playoffs. I think he's going to be a player. Now it's just a matter of kind of working on some of those defensive game and maybe some of his physicality stuff. But at the end of the day, Daxon Rudolph at 11 is still a really good pick. So St. Louis Blues take right shot Daxon Rudolph.
I didn't think you'd pick him just because of how your criticisms against him.
Criticism. I don't even think it's criticism. Like I at the end of the day, as I even said when I was talking about him, he's still going to go high. He's a 6'2" right shot defenseman who co-led the WHL in points. Like, he has all the abilities to prove everything that I said wrong. I just do think there are some questions about some of the plays that he make and whether he's just getting away with a little bit at the junior level. But at the end of the day, he's still going to be a player, and he's still a well-worthy bet in the top. At 11, I think it's still a really good pick. You're just splitting hairs with a few of the players around here, and I just had some things that I liked a few of the other ones better.
No, totally. And I'm not trying to criticize you or anything. There's if he's putting up the points he has, why isn't he up there in the conversation with a Reed and a Carols, right? There are some, especially as a right shot 6'2" guy, like there's obviously some flaws in his game. And that's why a lot of experts better than us have him lower down the board. So
absolutely.
I agree with that. Devils. I didn't do too much research into their prospects, but I feel like their D is pretty set. I mean, there's been some rumors about Simone Nemec potentially asking for a trade. I've heard those were not true as well. So it's probably somewhere in the middle. He's thinking about it, but hasn't actually said anything yet. But anyway, I feel like they probably need a little bit of help on the wing. And I mean, if you look at their team, do they really like Jack Hughes is kind of a sniper. He can score goals, but do they really have a true sniper? I'm not sure. So I'm going to take one of Dave's favorites, Adam Novotny.
Oh man,
Adam Novotny for the New Jersey Devils.
terrible pick.
Really? Because you wanted him at 14.
That's a good. Yep.
You weren't going to get him at 14. I wanted him at 13.
Okay. All right.
All right. Well, that's who I was going to take, and I didn't expect you to take him, Tyson. So
I was just going off what I think they need, and scoring winger.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I think you know what? I'm gonna go for some speed on the wing here for the New York Islanders. I'm gonna go Wyatt Cullen.
Oh, spicy.
Ooh.
Yeah, I
moved
like
up.
the idea. Yeah, I just like the idea of him. You know, you got Barzell, who's got a ton of speed. They've got in their prospect pool, like they've got Callum Ritchie, they've got Cole Eiserman, they've got Victor Eklund. So I feel like they kind of like Cullen kind of fits that mold of like a smaller winger. He's got more speed than I think Eiserman and Eklund do, and I think you worry a little bit about Eiserman's potential to be an impactful NHLer at this point. So,
Okay. With the Columbus Blue Jackets pick, my mind is going in a few different spots here, but I think I'm okay with some of the forwards that they've taken over the last couple of years. We'll see how, obviously Caden Lindstrom's getting a bit of flack for his season last year, but overall, I think their forwards are in a good spot. And even if you wanted to move a few in the future, I just think they might focus on a little on the back end a little bit. And I think one of the more underrated defenders in this class is probably Swedish defenseman Malte Gustafsson. I think he just does a little bit of everything, and I think he's one of those players that he might not be your top line guy, but he's almost just destined to play second pairing, like maybe third pairing, but I think he's an AHL player. So I think there's some safe floor there. So I think I'm just going to go Malte Gustafsson. It's not like an overall sexy pick, but I think with some of the picks that they've made lately, I think they are on the upward trajectory. And I think, just implementing, a nice safe defenseman who does have some, a little bit of offensive upside if he can untap some of that stuff at the next levels. Just a smooth skating, big hitter. I'm going with Malte Gustafsson.
Yeah. When we did our rankings, I don't know if I had him in our top 16, maybe right at the end, but he's definitely shot up my boards now that I've got to watch him a little bit more. So
yeah, he's awesome.
Like that pick there, Dave. St. Louis, their second pick in the first round here. Dave got Daxon Rudolph for the Blues at 11. That was a great pick. But I think another guy that I have pretty high is falling a little bit. And I'm going to go Oscar Hemming, big power forward. They just went defenseman, so pair him up with a forward. Honestly, when I was waiting for you to make your selection, Dave, I thought you were going to pick Oscar Hemming there for the Blues at 11. So the Blues are happy he fell to 15.
Yeah, I was also thinking about him with Columbus too, but I was also thinking about Caden Lindstrom last year, and I don't know. I don't know. It just didn't feel right.
Yep, that's fair. Jake, Washington Capitals.
I'm kind of debating between two guys here right now, and they're kind of similar players, bigger defensive-minded centermen. But I think I'm going to go Oliver Savanto, sorry.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Just a no-brainer NHLer.
Yeah.
Not super sexy, not flashy, and just gets the job done. I like that pick. I'm actually a little bit surprised I'm going here as well. But I feel like there needs to be a little bit of a shakeup in LA. You know, it's funny. Like not that long ago, LA was just like the creme de la creme of terms of prospects. They just had like the world was their oyster with the amount of prospects they have. But that's kind of died down in the last little bit. And I'm gonna go a little bit off the board, I think, and I'm gonna go on Nikita Klepov here.
Ooh.
And he kind of just brings a little bit of everything. He's a little bit more of an offensive player. He's so slippery, and I think that's a bit of an exciting match that you can maybe place with some of their centers that they have right now. I just think Nikita Klepov would be a really fun pick. A little bit earlier than I actually normally thought I would have him, but I'm gonna go Klepov here.
Well, now I have to reconsider, because I was going to go Klepov for the Capitals there. That Klepov just seems like a Capital to me, so that's what I was thinking. But just looking through their prospect pool right now, I would actually hate if Klepov went to the Kings, just personally, because I like him as a 24 target. Don't think he'll end up falling there, but I like that one. I'm kind of toying with this right now because Jake just went Savanto for the Capitals. Good pick. I get their second pick here. So I kind of want to go defenseman, kind of shake it up, because if I'm looking at their prospect pool right now, I kind of feel like they've got a lot of good centers in the pipeline. Lyndon Lakovic. I just don't want to say it wrong. Ivan Mershchenko, Tarek Parasek. I mean, those are Ilya Protas, Andrew Crystal. Like, they got some of those good high end. Peter Sikora, like, they're pretty good forward wise. They got Ryan Chesley on defense, but other than that, I don't know too many of these guys. So I don't know if this is kind of the profile, but Ryan Lynn's kind of falling, so I'm going to take Ryan Lynn. I know they got Cole Hudson, kind of another undersized.
Ryan Chesley too.
Yeah, I mentioned him, but yeah, I just feel like Ryan Lynn is the best player on the board, so I'm going to take him there for the Caps.
Yeah, you took my pick again there. I was going to take him for Utah. But all right, Utah, I mean, you've got Caleb Desnoyers, you've got TJ Ginla. Those are kind of your two blue chip prospects right now. I'm going to go with a winger who I think has kind of fallen here as well. Elton Hermanson.
Yep.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
he was skill.
Yeah, he was the player. He was the player that I was thinking for LA as well over Klepov.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my plan worked out again because another player, the three players that I was toying with LA was Klepov, Hermanson, and my boy Alexander Command. This is just for me just an easy pick for the San Jose Sharks. They picked Chase Reed at 2. Macklin Celebrini is the future. Now they just get Alexander Command, who just shores up that middle six. Probably play him in a second line role, but more than likely he's going to be a third line center and just a steady Eddie. And I have to make the joke every time I talk about him. He just commands the ice every time he's out there. And so easy pick. This is just a no-brainer for me. San Jose take Alexander Command.
A center core of Celebrini, Michael Misa, Alex Command.
Yep. It's perfect.
Sounds okay.
That kind of reminds me of, Crosby, Malkin, Jordan Stahl. That's a good pick, Dave. Good pick. San Jose set up forever, and they got Chase Reed at the same time. Not good news for Canucks fans. I'll say that. This might be a little bit of a reach, but the Philadelphia Flyers have been looking for someone like this forever. Sure, they got Jamie Drysdale, but he hasn't really hit as you would hope. But one of the comparisons for this guy is Lane Hudson. I'm going to go Xavier Villeneuve. Undeniable offensive skill. They need that offensive defenseman to grow with this kind of young core with the Michkovs and the Forsters and the Martones of the world. So I'm going to go Xavier Villeneuve for the Flyers.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. Pittsburgh, I feel like they could use a goal scoring winger in their prospect pool. So I'm going to go JP Hurlburt.
Oh, stole my pick. That's the classic draft, hey? The
Yeah.
one pick before you. That's always how
Sniped.
it works. That's just always how it goes.
This is why it's way better because we got to pivot on the fly.
Yep, totally. This is the kind of area I'm not going to pick him, but this is the kind of area where I would think teams are going to start to look at Marcus Nordmark and be like, is this the place where we take him? He's slid far enough. He's done his time. If there weren't some questions about some off puck stuff and attitude stuff, I think he could be one of the more projectable skill players. There's just a lot of down for the up. So I'm not going to pick him here with Boston Bruins pick because I just feel like they don't have time for that. But I am going to go with Ilya Morozov. He could play center or the wing, probably the wing, maybe center though. We'll see. But he just feels like a Boston Bruin pick to me. And he's not a super high end player, but a big, sizable player. The youngest in the NCAA last year, and I just think he proved enough that I think he should be in around this zone, maybe even earlier. And I just think he's a good swing for a team like the Boston Bruins.
Yep. Vancouver Canucks again. They went best player available Ivar Stenberg in round 1. Whoever made that pick is a complete genius. But I think it's time to address the center. I mean, I do like Mathis Preston here, but if you've already kind of taken a winger, I think they really want to address the center position. I'm kind of stuck here because there's one player I like based on profile, and there's another that I think might be the better player, might have more offensive upside. So I'm going to go Igor Shilov. And I don't think
Big boy.
Dave, you don't like Igor Shilov, is that right?
He skill wise, he's incredible. He's got all the things you want in the tools. For me, it's just more of the I like guys with big give a damn meters.
Yeah, the compete is an issue here, but I mean, if Manny Malhotra's the coach and Ryan Johnson's and the Sedins are under helm, I mean, I feel like compete's going to be a big talking point, and hopefully they can kind of instill that in his game. And then if they do, and he brings that compete, he's got that high end offensive upside. So I like that pick for the Canucks there.
Yeah, I love that pick for the Canucks.
He's smiling from ear to ear.
I'm excited. I feel like this is a very Seattle Kraken pick. I'm gonna go Maddox Dejanay. I just think they like character guys. They like big forwards. And your future down the middle of Beniers, right, Dejanay. You move Catton over to the wing. I just think maybe isn't the most appealing. You don't necessarily have that elite number 1, but I think it's a solid depth down the middle.
Yeah, it was between Dejanay and Shilov, but I felt like Shilov was falling a little bit, and he's got a little bit more offensive upside than I see in Dejanay.
I ran up to the podium for Carson Carroll's with the New York Rangers. So they already got their defenseman. I think this might shock a couple people who listened to me talk a couple episodes ago, but I think they're going to shore up their center, and they're going to take a swing on Ryan Rubrick, who's got great size and incredible shot. And if you can clean up some of the warts, I think we're talking about a top 10 talent just with some stuff that needs to be worked out. Just, we've talked about it already. And I just think if you can hit those and just get them invested, I think it's an easy pick now. And I believe they already have his brother in the system. So it just works out.
Yep, I like him a lot. He was probably going to be a target for me later on. So good pick there, Dave. I don't know. This is tough for me here because what do the Buffalo Sabres really need? I mean, their defense core is young and good. They've got Radim Mertka in the system. I believe they drafted him 9th overall last season. So I think they're they're kind of good on the blue line. They've got a good crop of young forwards: Yuri Kulich, Noah Ostlund, Josh Doan, Zach Benson. You guys want to maybe take the best player available? Jack Quinn, I forgot. Um, hmm. Hmm. I don't know, guys. I might go. I don't want to butcher this guy's name. Juho Piparainen. There we go.
Safe.
Yeah, just a safe pick. He's a right shot defenseman, so is Murka, but that's kind of the frame that they like. I mean, they went out and acquired Logan Stanley. He's a big, tall guy. Same with Luke Shen at the trade deadline. Finnish
Kessel.
right shot defenseman, 6'3", 203 pounds. Who knows what happens? Bowen Byram's up next season. I don't know if they're going to be able to extend all of these guys with Tuck and Zach Benson and Byram. So Byron's a left shot, but I believe he does play a little bit on the right side. So him and Murtka, one of them's bound to hit. So just go with the safe play there.
Yep. Seen a lot of Flames fans asking for this. So I'm going to give it to him. Liam Rock.
I knew it.
Ooh.
I knew it.
They've got what, 4 picks in the second round. They'll be able to take his brother. So yeah, there you go, Flames fans.
I was thinking about doing it at 24, but
were you?
Yeah, but Shelov was there, and I was like, gotta do it.
All right. Well, in that case, we're seeing Montreal Canadiens do their thing in the playoffs right now. Their offensive core is quite something, and I just think now it's just a matter of just continuing to work on that forward group and just build down. And I think Jack Hextall is going to be just a really nice center for them that isn't going to have the pressure to have to play too high up in the lineup, and he's just he can be a serviceable kind of steady Eddie do it all kind of center for them. Late in the first round, obviously they're on the upward swing, so they don't need to take a ton of risks here, and I think Jack Hextall is a decent bet for them.
Carolina Hurricanes, they just take good hockey players. Doesn't matter what size they are. They always seem to find the diamonds in the rough. And Mathis Preston is still on the board, so I'm going to be taking Mathis Preston for the Carolina Hurricanes. He's a center, probably plays wing at the NHL level, but super speedy, super skilled. He was supposed to he was top 15, I believe. A lot of the year, coming into the year at least, and he falls to the Hurricanes at 30. I believe that's a slam dunk.
Yeah. I can't remember who the Blues picked, so I'm going to scroll up here.
Jackson Rudolph and Oscar Hemming.
Okay, perfect.
Good draft so far.
Yeah,
for St. Louis.
Yeah, they're killing it.
Yeah.
Good on us,
I'm
Dave.
gonna have them. Oh, let's see here. There's 2 guys that I'm debating between. Both are left shot defensemen. On my personal rankings, they're ranked 32 and 33, so they're right neck and neck. But I'm going to go with the big Russian defenseman, Nikita Shcherbakov.
Dude, you nailed it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, well, in that case, I'm going to wrap mine up, and the Ottawa Senators are going to go with a goal-scoring winger in Nicholas Aram Olsen. I really like this player. He's actually, Norway's on the upswing. I don't know if you've been watching them at the World Championships, but they seem to be on the upswing, and he's not there right now. But Nicholas Aram Olsen is definitely one of those players that I am intrigued. Like, he's even a player that I'm a little bit intrigued with the Canucks picks around 24. He's a natural goal scorer. A little bit on the bigger side, but he's not too super physical, but I think he's a scoring profile, and I think the Ottawa Senators can use that going forward. So I'm going to go with Nicholas Aram also.
Yeah, you've been talking him up quite a bit lately, so I know you like him quite a bit. That does it for the first round. Here's the Canucks' first second round pick, and I'm stuck between 3 guys here. And I don't know which one to go with. I've got Marcus Nordmark, who's still on the board. He's skilled, but Dave still has that those concerns about, give a damn meter. But I mean, he had a good year in the U20 National, 14 goals, 38 points, 25 games played, added 23 points in 11 playoff games for them as well. So he's got all the skill in the world. Thomas Trenko, I remember watching him at the World Juniors. He's a 5'11" center, 170 pounds, so a little lighter, but I like him a lot too.
Offense. Love
Yeah.
it.
And then, but I don't know, this William Hackison, 6'4", 207-pound left shot defenseman. They've went 2 forwards. Do they want to go get a big kind of defensive defenseman here? I think you can kind of get those a little later, right? You draft skill high end in the draft, and that's Marcus Nordmark. So we're gonna go Marcus Nordmark, and I feel like Dave's gonna hate my draft.
We got Ivor Stenberg. That's all that matters.
Yeah, that was the good pick there, but yeah, and I know fans are probably going to be pissed off. Get these Swedes off the team. Why are we drafting so many Swedes? Blah blah blah. But we need more Canadian kids. Well, you know what the Canucks need? The Canucks need good hockey players, and Marcus Nordmark is a good offensive hockey player. So that's what they need more. He's left wing, and so is Stenberg. So hopefully one of them can kind of switch to the off wing. And then maybe they play together. Who knows? Maybe that could be a match made in heaven there. So maybe we'll run through all the picks real quick just to summarize for everybody. Toronto Maple Leafs at 1, take Gavin McKenna. Chase Reed at 2 to the San Jose Sharks. Ivor Stenberg 3 to the Vancouver Canucks. Caleb Malhotra, number 4 to the Chicago Blackhawks. Carson Carroll's number 5 to the New York Rangers. Vigo Bjork to the Calgary Flames at number 6. Keaton Verhoff, number 7 for the Seattle Kraken. Ethan Belches, number 8 for the Winnipeg Jets. Number 9, Albert Smits to the Florida Panthers. And number 10, Tynan Lawrence to the Nashville Predators. That was a lot. I'm not going to run through the whole thing. Jake can scroll down. Sorry for the podcast listeners. It's 33 picks. That was a lot. So go check out the YouTube if you want to see the full list. All right, we've kind of, and this is on me. We've kind of been okay. Wait. We'll still talk about the draft. Where do you guys have any regrets here?
I had a couple. Well, not regrets. So one player that I really wanted earlier on is Oscar Hemming. It just the way that things worked out. I just, I was contemplating him. I mean, they ended up getting him anyways, but it's the St. Louis first pick. It was between, Oscar Hemming and St. Louis. Nikita Klepov, Alexander Command is a player that I do wonder if that's an LA Kings pick, Alexander Command, but I decided to go a little more offensive, but I do think if he falls to San Jose, that's a slam dunk, so I'm okay with that one. But I think those two are the two that I'm kind of like, I could have maybe went. And I don't know what Canes fans are going to think about Jack Hextall over a couple people. I just think, like I said, they they have their offense shored up, and I just think a nice steady centerman is a nice option. So I don't know.
Yeah, I just wonder if the Kings go center instead of a winger in Klepov, right? Because he probably projects to play wing at the NHL level, right?
Yeah, which is why I think Command might be the pick. Like now I'm admitting Command could be the pick, and and admittedly this was that was a bit of a victim of doing this on the fly. I might have just straight up missed Command because I just thought he was already gone or something like that. But
yep, Jake, you got any regrets?
Yeah, I think I was debating between Morozov for the Capitals at 16, and I went Savanto, but I think I would, if I were to do it again, I would have gone Morozov instead. And then I don't think I would have taken Liam Ruck at 28 for the Calgary Flames. I just kind of did that because I know that's what they want to hear.
I love it.
I like the idea of, especially because they took in the mock here, we took Vigo Bjork with their first pick. I would have liked to go Shishrbakov just because I think he can potentially be a good partner for Zane Parekh in the future.
Yeah, good point.
Yep.
And
Yep.
like you make a good point, they do have a ton of second round picks. So if there's any team that's going to be able to swoop the two of them, it's Calgary. Like
Mm-hmm.
I do think it's a fine pick. Like especially some people have him in the teens. I don't have him there, and I know you don't. But Liam Reck at 20, was it 28?
Mm-hmm.
It's good picks. Like I said, especially with the added caveat that they can probably take his brother in the second round there. So
Yeah. All my picks were great, so I don't have any regrets. um anyways, let's get to some questions. This one comes from James S on X. This was before the draft lottery. He says, Gut says we draft third. Scott was correct. So do you think that trading down a spot to collect more goods than draft Manny's boy at number 4 might be an idea?
I'll hop in, I guess. Yes, instantly. Like if Malhotra, it's funny. Cam Robinson from Elite Prospects, he goes on Carson Price yesterday, and he says that he has one team has submitted their list, and they had Caleb Malhotra at 1. But I think for the most part, I think there's probably a good bet that if you're the Vancouver Canucks and you're intent on taking Caleb Malhotra at 3, regardless of who's there, let's just say Stenberg or Gavin McKenna are there. Like maybe Stenberg's worked his way up into that conversation now over Gavin, thanks to the World Championships. If either of those players are there and you are still set on Caleb, you should absolutely be swinging that pick. You call Chicago right away. You call Calgary right away, because there's a good chance that you could probably still get Caleb, 4 or 5. Excuse me. And so I think that's what you should be doing if you're Vancouver. I think that's what you should be doing if you're San Jose. Like the first thing you should be doing, even if you want those players, you should be trying to weaponize that pick immediately and try to trade back. Because there's probably at this point, they're probably going to take either Stenberg or Gavin McKenna. So if those aren't your players, you should absolutely be picking up that phone and making that call.
Yeah, it really only seems like there's 2 true difference makers in this draft up front, at least, and that's McKenna and Stenberg. And if they're both gone, then yeah, I feel like trading down is the best option. If Stenberg or McKenna do fall there, then that's the pick. But I mean, like you said, like some teams have Malhotra at 1, according to an anonymous poll from Robinson. So I mean, I don't know. Like I just wouldn't be making that call, but that's why I'm on here, not in an NHL room.
Yeah, and I'm firmly on, like, I think we're all in this. Well, no, I know we are all on this. Like, if
Mhm.
Ivor Stenberg, like, there's got to be, it's gonna be, they're gonna have to give a real good answer for why Caleb over Ivor. I just think at this point, like, like as you said, there's a reason why we're here and we're not in those rooms. So, like, obviously they're seeing something and talking to the player and getting a little more intel than we have, but. At this point, like we're seeing what Ivor Stenberg's doing at the World Championships. Like it's just feels like it has to be him. That he screams Vancouver Canucks right now. So if he's
Yeah. Jake, do you have that video from the goal today
I do, yeah.
on Tuesday? Oh, nasty goal at the World Championships. For the podcast listeners, if you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's just on TSN. You'll probably have already seen it if you haven't yet by now. But yeah, it was nasty. One thing I do worry about with this question, though, what are like moving down one spot, sure, but like what is Chicago? If they can't get that difference maker like a McKenna or Stenberg, why are they going to move up? I just don't know if those 2 were gone, why would they move up? I don't know. Like if they could go defenseman, and then
Yeah,
at
maybe it's
that
not
point, like
Chicago.
you
Maybe
have,
it's Calgary.
yeah, Calgary does want to move up, but then who are they moving up for? Like, in my view, there's 2 difference makers, and if th're both off the board, I don't see why anybody would move up because there is that next crop of players, and you're going to be able to get one wherever you are as long as you're in the top 6. So I don't know
Well,
why.
no. My scenario, Ivor's still available.
Then don't move.
Well, for us, yes, but
Yeah.
we know that it sounds like the Vancouver Canucks don't agree with that.
Right.
So my thing is, if Ivor Stenberg, and this is the same with San Jose, that was my scenario. Ivor Stenberg is still available. The Canucks, it sounds like they like Caleb Mahotra. I think we just need to prepare ourselves for that. Like, we might not agree with it, but it sounds like, there is a very real chance. Whether it happens or not, who knows? But it sounds like there is a chance. So if Ivor Stenberg's available, that's my scenario. That you should absolutely be trading down. Like, you should be taking that picking up that phone and say, "Hey, Ivor is available. If you want him, he's there." Like, who's
Mhm.
taking him? And then you take Caleb, whether it's 4 or 5,
Yep.
or Vigo at 7, or whatever it is. Like, whatever, like, at this point, you're adding more first rounders, you're adding more second rounders, whatever it is, you're dropping back a few spots, potentially still getting your guy, because by all accounts, it sounds like their guy is Caleb.
Yeah. Yeah. If they're dead set on picking Caleb and Stenberg's there, then yes, moving down would be the right call. But
It sounds like it might be happening. So, like,
I
again,
know.
it could not, but I think we really need to have the conversation, and just get used to the fact that this might be what we see when, come June 25th.
Yep. Especially if they want to fix the culture and everything. So we're gonna skip the other two questions, Jake, because I just came up with one on the fly for Dave.
Oh, sorry, listeners,
uh,
we're taking
yeah.
over.
Yeah, taking over. But I think it's important that we do have this conversation about um, drafting Caleb and hiring Manny, because I
Yeah.
think I like this is a team that has been through so much drama and trauma over the last few years with everything going on wrong in the locker room, and finally you can have a slate clean. You've traded most of the issues out of the locker room and everything started to get better. And now I just feel like if you're bringing in Manny and then you're going to draft Caleb, that's just going to cause another rift, because Manny is so dedicated to hockey that he's not going to let it be, in my opinion. But how is the locker room going to feel about that? Is Caleb getting special treatment, or is he earning his ice time? And then at that point, like, there's going to be internal conversations about that. But on the other side of the coin, if Manny doesn't show any nepotism and doesn't want to make it seem like there's any nepotism going on, is it now okay? He's stunting his development because he's too hard on Caleb,
Yeah.
and that's where I think it's too risky. It's too risky to run to run that, and like I said, you just got rid of all the drama in the locker room. Why are you gonna bring in another situation that could cause some more of it?
You just kind of have to laugh, like, it's just it's such a Vancouver Canucks problem to have. Like,
Mhm.
it's ridiculous. This whole scenario is just so ridiculous. But I agree. I don't think it's as risky. I think it's unfair. Like, you're putting, this is Manny Malhotra's first NHL job. This is Caleb Malhotra's first NHL crack. Like, there's just, it's just so crazy how this is how it worked. Like, it almost be even, it would be a different conversation even if Manny got hired last year and he has at least 1 year under his belt where he can, he has a good feel. But you literally would just be adding the two a month away from each other. Like, it's just almost comical at this point. Like, but I do agree, because I do think, like, it's not just Manny and Caleb. It's everyone else. Like, it's the entire locker room that's at stake. Just in terms of, as you said, it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. And yes, you'd like to think that they can be professional and, figure it out. But I just think it's just an unfair, and unnecessary risk, as you mentioned, and to just, I feel like there's players available that you could just, like, if Caleb's really your guy, then I guess. But I don't know. It's hard to answer. You can't really answer the question, because I do agree. I think I think it's an unfair risk to be taking at this point, and just, so avoidable. I just think there are some players that you can just easily take at that spot. And I don't know. But all I can really do is laugh. It's just
Yeah.
such a Canucks thing to be done. Let's just, yeah, I don't know.
I think
I,
the conversation would be a little different if, if he was the undoubtable first overall pick and the Canucks got first overall, then you have to take the player, and then honestly, you probably wouldn't hire Manny. But now that it's a conversation, I don't know. I wonder about a guy like Braden Coots in that situation because, they're kind of similar players, right? They're kind of project to be those middle six, good defensively, good leaders. Now, okay, is Caleb getting more ice time because he's earned it? And how does Braden Coots feel about it? Like, what's going to go on in his head? Like, hey, I'm playing better than this guy right now. Why am I playing third line minutes? This guy's playing second line minutes. Why does that guy get to be the captain when I'm trying to be more, or I'm being more involved vocally in the locker room, blah, blah, blah. Like there's so many things that could go on and could go wrong.
Yeah, but I mean, you can say that about like at the end of the day, if Caleb gets picked, Caleb is a top 3 pick. Like it doesn't matter. Caleb's a top 3 pick. Doesn't matter who he is. Braden Coots is the 15th overall pick, still a high pick, going to be a good player. But like when we're talking about third overall, like we're not we might see him as a middle 6 option. Clearly the Vancouver Canucks see him as a 1C. Like it's a clear, like they and not just the Vancouver Canucks. I know a couple people who see Caleb Malhotra as a 1C. Like that's the thing. Like again, we might have a different opinion, but like there are legit scouts, professional, amateur, unpaid scouts that do see Manny Malhotra in a much different light than we may have discussed on this show. So like I do think, again, just like I think we have to have the conversation that Malhotra might go above Stenberg, I also think we have to have the conversation that people just think Caleb Malhotra is more of a player than we anticipate. Like they truly see it. So I think, and it doesn't matter whether it's Caleb or Chase or Vigo or whoever it is, they're higher picks than Braden Coots. They're probably gonna be given a bit of a longer leash. If Coots commands it, then he does. But I think no matter what, that's just how it works. If you're a higher pick, you're going to get that little bit of a special treatment, especially if you're a top 3 pick. Yeah, I like I said, I just think you might have an opinion of him, but I think if they're taking him over Ivor Stenberg, it's clear they think he's a number 1 center.
Yep, good points.
Sorry, I'm just wondering, like, because the organization and like the players in the organization have familiarity with Manny, like, do you think that changes anything as well? Because obviously if it were like a new hire coach and then you bring in that guy's son, you maybe worry a bit more about the dynamic. But just because the players have familiarity with Manny, know what kind of a professional he is and everything like that, like, do you think that makes it a little bit less of an issue bringing in his son?
To be quite honest, I actually don't worry about Manny Malhotra. Like I think Manny Malhotra is, like as you just mentioned, he's a professional. I don't think
Mhm.
he's gonna let any of this bother him. If he has to cut his son, he's got to cut his son. I think if his son makes it, I think the issue is going to be the perspective from the outside, whether that's from both the fans' perspective and the locker room's perspective. I think that's where the issue is going to stem. I don't think Manny. I'm not worried about Manny. I don't think Manny's going to give 2 craps about whether he cuts his son. That's just how it's got to work. And sorry, Caleb, like love you, but you got to work harder. That's just how it is. So for me, I'm more worried about the external drama than I actually am about Manny as a whole on the game, and maybe even the player. Like it's going to put. I think it puts Caleb in more of a stickier spot than it does Manny. Because I think Manny is just going to, he's just going to go about his job as he has to go about his job. I think Caleb is going to be the 18-year-old in this situation who's, trying to crack his NHL lineup, and he might feel slighted or, and so or maybe even he doesn't want to be put in this situation. But for me, I just think, for me, the conversation isn't Manny. That's not my worry. I think he's a professional. I think he's going to do a hell of a good job. So for me, it's more the external stuff.
Yeah, and I know Jim Rutherford said that whoever we pick at 3 is going to play in the NHL next season, whatever. Obviously, new regime. I don't believe that. If they pick Caleb, like if it's Stenberg, probably.
Mhm.
If it's Caleb, he's already committed to BU. So I would imagine he goes there. And if Manny is the coach, I'll play it like the other side of the coin here. He's going to want what's best for his son too, right? And I don't think he would. I think he would view the NCAA as the best route for Caleb in his development right now. And who knows, maybe even 2 years. But if you're picking him at third, you're you don't want him to be gone off your team for that long, right? You want him to be making an impact at the NHL level. So, I mean, I was just thinking in my head, like, okay, maybe 2 years at BU and then maybe in the AHL for a year and then he's up. And then at that point, like, okay, maybe he's actually ready to do it. But if you're picking him at third overall, I think you would probably want him to jump over as early as next season at the end of the NCAA year. So I don't know. It's a sticky situation. I hope the Canucks don't get involved in it either way. But I talk a lot. I don't mean to talk poorly of Caleb. I know he's a great guy. I know he's a great hockey player. Like, he deserves to shoot up the ranks, but I just think it's such a sticky situation that I wouldn't want to get involved in with that. Anyway, that's that's our little rant. Thank you, Dave, for taking my question and the listeners' questions. But yeah, I guess before we wrap up, I just kind of want to, and I haven't told you guys this at all, but I missed last week's show because I lost my grandma. She got made done. She was ready to go. She had an illness. She had a couple brain tumors, and she was ready to go. And she got it done on the Tuesday, so I wasn't in any state to record, but I just wanted to, share a little bit of inside stuff on what was going on. If you didn't see any articles or any tweets or anything on CanucksArmy, about, I was just going through it. I'm up in Kelowna with the family and everything, so it's good for the Memorial Cup. But yeah, my grandma was, I lost my mom when I was 19, and then my grandma kind of stepped up and was my mom for the last 10 years. So it was pretty tough for me and the family and everything. But appreciate you guys, appreciate all the listeners and everything. Yeah, didn't want to start off the show like that. Didn't want to end it off either, but I felt like the right thing to do to talk about my grandma, let out the emotions and everything. Yeah. Anyway.
No, thanks so much for sharing. And we've already talked about this off air quite a bit. Our thoughts are with you and your entire family. We told you to take as much time as you needed. It's a tough time. In these situations, there's never anything good to say, but other than we're thinking of you, and we're always here for you. And just we're thinking of you.
Thanks, fellas. Couldn't do without you guys. Couldn't do it without all the listeners. Anyway, yeah, sorry to end on a sad note, but
As you said.
Yeah, we'll be back next week. Check out CanucksArmy for all the Memorial Cup recap, preview, all that. Dave's got some draft profiles I'm assuming are coming up. Jake's always making us look pretty. For Dave, Jake, I'm Tyson. Thank you so much for watching another episode of Blackfish.